Hi, everybody. Welcome to the KPRC 2 Sports Podcast, episode number 11. Great to have you with us. We thought we'd talk some Astros baseball because we're wrapping up the regular season. And, of course, postseason will start 5-6 days later after the little break during the wild card round. We're going to talk Astros baseball with a guy you know well, Adam Wexler from Sports Talk 790. It's been many years here at KPRC 2. Good to see you, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Great being in the building once again.
I mean, you walked right in. You knew exactly where to go. You probably have a badge to get in still.
Could have sat at my desk.
As a matter of fact, you went right to it, didn't you? Hey, Wex, we're going to talk for a few minutes for our listeners and viewers as well on the podcast. It's that time of the year. It's about to hit October. Playoffs are about to start. Let's talk some Astros because, hey, they've already clinched. Waiting to clinch that number one seed still. I think it's going to happen hopefully this weekend. What are your thoughts right now as you get closer and as you look at the potential matchups that they could see in that ALDS round?
Well, I mean, it's one of those four teams been battling for the wild card for the past several weeks between the Mariners, the Blue Jays, and the Rays, and actually their spots haven't really changed at all for about 3 weeks now. Blue Jays sitting in the fourth spot, which means they would host. Most likely that would be the Rays, but the Astros have a big say in that. If the Astros wouldn't have had a sweep over the Rays the first time, the Rays would be number 4. And if the Astros take care of business against the Rays here at home a second time, then that leaves the door open for the Mariners to still slide up past them and potentially be the team that plays the Blue Jays with a chance to come to Houston. I think the Astros are fine either way. It's pretty obvious with a gap of 15 to 20 games between the Astros and those three teams that they're significantly better than them, even though their season series against the Blue Jays was only 2 wins in 6 games. They actually outscored them. So I'm fine with that. Obviously fine with the Mariners, who they beat 6 times in 7 games right after the break. So while they never saw the Mariners with Castillo, they never saw the Mariners with Haniger, and the Mariners have obviously played well enough to stay in the wild card race, that matchup is fine. I mean, at some point you have to recognize who the Astros are, and they're just that much better than everybody else. Granted, it's baseball, and it's a short series. That is dangerous. But you're throwing an ace-level pitcher every single time in every playoff game. The entire postseason, when you're 1 through 4, is Verlander, Valdez, Javier or McCullers, and then Javier or McCullers. It's not. There's no rotation better than that.
As good as the pitching is, though, I still get nervous at times, and we've seen it kind of off and on during the course of the season. As good as the pitching is, I know they've won over 100 games. We know that. But this offense sometimes just goes silent. You've seen the stretches too. That's my concern going into the postseason is, are they going to face a staff that's also maybe not to their level but still really good? And if your offense is quiet, that 5-day break also bothers me a little bit. That's where I kind of get a little bit nervous in this ALDS round.
Yeah, I think having a Jose Altuve as your leadoff hitter is a huge asset as it relates to that 5 days off. I feel like right now I could give the viewers and listeners a guarantee. On October 11th at Minute Maid Park, when the Astros go to the bottom of the first inning in a 0-0 game in Game 1, he's going to swing at the first pitch. And that might dictate how the whole series goes.
But he might hit a home run.
The 5 days off is a concern, but any little minor ankle sprain, like with Yordan Alvarez, that's so recent that another couple of days off, he's going to play in these games at the end of the season, but I think the days off will help him. They're going to have to do some sim work with some of the other pitchers. But Verlander and Valdez probably line up to pitch the last 2 games of the season, I would think, is how they're going to do it. And probably not 7 or 8 innings, more like 5 or 6.
Well, it falls into kind of where they're with the rest. That's perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think you'll be able to do that and kind of keep them on regular rest. And then everybody else could be like Luis Garcia, who had extra juice on his fastball. And I don't even know who's going to make the final 12 or 13-man ALDS staff, but offensively speaking, your 1 through 5 is going to dictate how you do. Altuve, Pena, who should stay there where he's been almost the whole year in that 2 spot since Brantley left, and your 3, 4, 5 is as good as you get in baseball.
It really is. I want to talk now and go back to the pitching because that seems like that's a hot topic. I imagine you guys talk about it a lot on your show.
Who's not 790.
Who is going to be left out? What good pitcher is not going to make this rotation? I mean, are you looking at Javier being in the rotation and maybe Garcia bullpen in the playoffs?
I'm looking at Javier in the rotation because I
Okay.
cannot ignore the numbers. I think it almost hurts him that our perception is, man, he's been so good out of the bullpen in the postseason before.
Yeah.
We already know he can do it, so why don't we just go that route again? Well, that season he had not established himself as the starter he did this season. He's been on one of the, in my opinion, one of the 10 best starters in the AL, and the numbers are all there to back it up. He's had 5 games where he's allowed 1 hit or less in 5+ innings. Only one other pitcher in the league has done that. He should be in the rotation in one of those road games, either Game 3 or Game 4. I expect him to get that nod, and I wouldn't even guarantee that Garcia makes it, only because they might only carry 12. Garcia, Seth Martinez, even Jose Urquidy potentially, and Will Smith, probably Phil Maton. There's probably 5 guys looking for those last 2 spots if they only keep 12. If they keep 13,
Wow.
maybe it's a little bit
How
different.
weird is that going to be when you got name guys that have contributed, in some cases, like a Garcia, big time, Urquidy at times as well, not on the roster?
Yeah, it might just be timing. Garcia's last handful of starts, he's won 6 of his last 7. He's 6-0 in his last 7 starts. His last start was obviously very good. The start before that was very good.
Wow.
He might just be pitching well at the right time to maybe take that spot. Urquidy's kind of the other way around, and he might still have a chance, and he kind of did that his last start to maybe right the ship. You might see a right-handed heavy lineup in the Blue Jays. Maybe that means Dusty can be convinced we don't need Will Smith in the bullpen because it's such a right-handed dominant group. But it may be a guy where he thinks, well, in a late-inning situation when they come to their lefties, even though there's a 3-batter minimum, which I think is a disaster for the Astros. It has been ever since it's been there, whether it's Blake Taylor or Brooks Raley,
Right.
maybe Will Smith. They might get lefties out, but
What-
the other team's going to throw righties at them. They never get them out.
What about when you look at Dusty and the decisions they've got to make on that? Is it an analytics kind of approach? I mean, obviously that plays a big role in baseball. We know that, but when they're determining this roster, is that kind of what you're getting at? When they're looking at their opponent, they're going to break down that lineup and say, who do we need? What arms do we need for this particular round?
Yeah, when the season ends on the 5th, they're not going to know who they're going to keep. And I think they're going to let their pitchers know that they don't know, because whether it's the Rays, who have a little bit different makeup to what they'll be throwing at the Astros, and there is a little bit more of a balance in their group of hitters. And similarly with the Mariners have a handful of hitters. I do think they'll look at specific matchups. Let's say Phil Maton has faced the Mariners 4, 5, 6 times this year because it's the division team, and his numbers are good, and he's gotten lefties out. It would obviously be beneficial on the morning of the 11th to confirm, yes, Phil, you're a part of this group. So I definitely think they will look at all those things. It is such a short series. You got to play some of those matchups with the numbers that you have. It's just like everything else in baseball. We have the numbers. We have to use it. Unless baseball tells us we can't use it. Oh, he hits the ball here every single time? Maybe we should put a guy in the shift there. Whoa. Hey, slow down. Let's go ahead and make some rules changes.
That's right. Hey, this is going to be fun, man. I want to ask you real quick, and we got a few more minutes here on this week's edition. We had Jeff Blum on last week, and he talked about obviously the job Dusty Baker has done. I'm going to ask you your thoughts on that, because there's so much being said right now about Dusty's future. What does he want versus maybe what the organization route might be when the season is over? What are you thinking and hearing right now that they're maybe considering and may go? I mean, because you got a guy that, what if they win the World Series? Is that going to be enough for Dusty? And Dusty himself is going to say, all right, I got my ring now as a manager. Or, no, I want to come back, and then they say, maybe not. We may go another
based on what he said, it sounds like he wants to come back under every single scenario, including winning the World Series. Now, maybe that changes in a month after he goes through the playoffs, after he enjoys it, because he has never experienced it before, so you never know how someone might react. But I think he's been around so long, if he knows that he wants to go for a second one after he finally gets his first one, and his path to get it, if he does, is one that's historic for as much as he's accomplished as a manager.
Right.
And all these 90-win seasons, these division championships with every team he's had, the playoff visits with every team he's been the manager for. We'll see how he feels, but I think he's made it pretty clear that he wants to be back, which now puts it on ownership. But when you add to it the fact that James Click is not under contract either, is it a clean sweep? Can you spin this into that? Well, if we're getting rid of the general manager, well, I'm going to hire a new general manager, and he's going to want to hire a manager. So does that give you a secondary out to say, Dusty, we're not going to give you an extension to give you a new contract?
That's what I'm totally confused. I think a lot of fans are too, is Why is that even a topic with James Click? That I don't understand that. Give me some clarity on that, because here's a guy, the team is winning big. It's a no-brainer unless he doesn't want to be here for some reason.
It's because they're in the most unique situation. Who fires their GM and their manager after a visit to the World Series?
Exactly.
Well, the Astros did it. Now, they were forced to do it.
Different circumstances.
That's why they're in this situation, though, because you ended up hiring the manager first. You hired Dusty Baker just a handful of days before the spring training started. You hired the general manager after. And, again, going back to the premise of who gets rid of their manager and GM when you're winning, well, that means the manager, Dusty, the general manager, James Click, they took over a team that's the best team in the league.
Right.
That's also rare. So you're right, they haven't messed it up. But this team was going to win probably with anybody in those spots. Now, I'm not going to say they would have made it to the ALCS every year, which they have, and they deserve credit for that. The bullpen has been completely reshaped outside of Presley, all by moves made by James Click. Most of the offense are moves made by Jeff Luhnow, and most of these guys are Jeff Luhnow guys. The entire pitching staff on the starting side, other than Justin Verlander, they're Luhnow guys. And Verlander, I don't even think is a Click guy because he's a Crane guy. And that's the other part of it. It all ties together. They have an owner now, maybe a little bit different than Jim Crane as an early owner. He's much more involved. We know he handles pretty much the entire Justin Verlander negotiation. He's so involved that I think that hurts the GM, whoever it might be, because the owner feels like these are my hand. I've stamped these moves. I've made these things happen. I can continue to do that. So maybe it's an opening to, again, move on.
It's just puzzling. It's still puzzling to
I think
me.
there's some personality issues among the three of them. Maybe I'm not a big fan of yours. You're not a big fan of mine.
Could
I'm
be.
not a big fan
yeah,
of
there could be
his.
some internal stuff. It's just it's funny because it's a hot topic, and here you are, got a team that's over 100 wins. And
It will be asked when they're sitting at the podium before Game 3, before a Game 6, after a Game 7, after they advance.
Right.
You still don't have a contract for next year, Dusty. Things like they'll happen.
Well, it's like during the season, it leads you to believe something is going on behind the scenes, because why wouldn't, during the course of this season, why wouldn't Jim Crane say, hey, we've reached an agreement, we've extended James Click's deal, or Dusty or whatever. None of that has even been brought to anybody's attention.
Yeah, I think the element from his standpoint is let's forget about it. You may want it. I'm not. That's not what we're going to do. James, you continue to try to manipulate the roster, do what we need done. Dusty, you go out and manage like you've always done, and we'll address it when I feel it's time to address it.
It's going to be really interesting to see how that thing plays out. All right, as we wrap it up, just thoughts on the postseason. You know who's probably getting in and going wherever they are in each round. How do you think this is going to play out? Let's start with the National League first. I can't wait to watch the National League playoffs.
Yeah,
there's some really good teams out there.
Yeah, I think beyond the Astros and the Yankees and the AL, that's everyone's saying it's one of the two of them. Most people are saying the Astros. It's not the same in the National League. You might have 1 out of 3 people saying the Mets, 1 out of 3 saying the Braves, 1 out of 3 saying the Dodgers. That tells you how good the Mets and Braves are, because the Dodgers are as far ahead of everybody else in their league as the Astros are in the AL.
Yeah.
They've been unbelievable, and they're still not, to me, overwhelming favorites to win the NL. Only because the Braves and their pitching staff is incredible. And all these kids that they've locked up with these long-term deals, the gift they got in Freeman's replacement with Matt Olson, they're absolutely loaded. I think the Braves, the defending World Series champions, are better than they were last year. So I think they might be the team that I might kind of wild card as a pick. I do think they will be. I would put the Mets third, the Braves second, and I can't ignore how good the Dodgers are as the 1, 2, 3 Dodgers, Braves, Mets to come out of the National League.
All right, and by the way, the Mets and Braves I think play each other this weekend.
And the Braves fans are stoked because Jake Odorizzi won't be pitching in any of those games.
Hey, and lastly, American League. Astros are where they are. They're on the verge of getting that number 1 seed. This is going to be a tough postseason as well. Do you see them coming out of the American League and getting back to the World Series?
I do think it's rather conceited of me and many others who think it's almost automatic. Well, they've been in the ALCS 5 years. They're about possibly going to, tie the franchise record in wins. They've got a big gap over the Yankees. They've outplayed everybody for the last 2 months. They have a winning record. They have 10 games over 500 against the 5 other teams headed to the postseason. That number could go up as they go through the Rays or down. But In baseball, it's just not that easy. If this were basketball, everybody would be picking the Astros. They'd be like the Warriors. Why wouldn't they come out? You play a 7-game series, the better team's going to win. It's just not like that in baseball. If it were, I'd put it in pen. I'll absolutely put it in super sharp, dark, bolded pencil. The Astros are going back to the World Series.
You think it'll be the Yankees in the ALCS?
I think the Yankees will win their one series needed to meet the Astros and have their bye-bye to the playoffs again, hand-delivered by the Astros.
All right. He is Adam Wexler, Sports Talk 790. Of course, been in H-Town. How many years in radio now? Many.
Oh, the 90s start my turn through media here in Houston, so we'll leave it there. But we're getting close to the 30-year mark.
Kidding. This guy's awesome, man. Catch him every afternoon on the A-Team Sports Talk 790 from, 3 to 6 every night?
Weekday afternoon.
Awesome. Let's do it again, hopefully during the postseason as well. Maybe this will extend a little while.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Adam Wexler hanging out with us on the KPRC2 Sports Podcast. Thanks for listening and watching, and we will do it again next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.